Welcome to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft, the founder and CEO of Judith Heft and Associates, Financial and Lifestyle Concierge. This year, they're celebrating 26 years in business. In every episode, Judy interviews professionals who help others successfully manage their financial lives. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Judy is the author of 2 books, How to Be Smart, Successful, and Organized with Your Money for a Better Today and Tomorrow, and her latest book, Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles, How to Successfully Manage Money in Every Decade of Life. You can read chapters of her books and catch prior episodes of this show at www.judithheft.com. Now here's the host of Mastering Your Financial Life, Judy Heft.
Hey everybody, welcome. So happy today to introduce you to my guest, Nancy Kellman. And this is our 33rd show of Mastering Your Financial Life, and I'm Judy Heft. And so Nancy is a matrimonial attorney. She's the founder and CEO or principal of her firm, Nancy Kellman. She's a solo practitioner, and she represents high net worth clients in divorce, and then there's other complex family law matters that we hear about too that are the byproducts of that. And she was a litigator mostly, but she's recently expanded her practice to do collaborative and mediation. So welcome, Nancy. I'm really thrilled to have you here with me today.
Great. Thank you so much, Judy. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Thank you. So, how can you help a client? There's a client comes and they're not really ready to make the step, but they want to start planning for it. And how can you help them if they're still in the thinking stages? Because, it takes a while to make that big decision.
That's right. And, that happens quite a bit, that people come to me, clients come to me before the decision is made, whether to divorce. And the way that I help them is by explaining the law to them, letting them know what are the issues that they're going to confront, whether it's support, whether it's property distribution, and of course, non-financial issues like custody, decision-making, and things like that. And so I explain to them what is the law? And in New York, where I practice, the law is equitable distribution, which means property is equitably divided. So in trying to help them to understand or make decisions about divorce, it's helpful if they know what kind of property they have, what kind of bank accounts, what's in them. Are they investment accounts? How can they access those accounts? Where can they get that information? And some people who, sometimes if it's a mom, because their moms are usually the ones who are staying home with kids, they want to know about, well, what can they expect? Are they going to be getting child support? And sometimes if it's the payor, they want to know how much they're going to have to pay. So the way that we begin our discussion, in addition to explaining what the law is to them, is to also explain what they can do to prepare. So gathering the information that they need, the financial information, working on a budget. I mean, that's something that, you can help them with, Judy, because people can have their credit card statements, they can have their bank account information, and yet they don't have a clear picture of what their budget is.
That's so true, Nancy. And, not only with contemplating divorce, but we find that a lot of people that come to us, they have no idea what they're spending their money on. And especially in divorce too, because everything is so detailed when you do that financial affidavit, you really need to know down to the penny. And, it can be overwhelming and daunting, especially when there's that stay-at-home parent, the non-moneyed spouse. A lot of times they don't have any idea what the user IDs and passwords are, where the accounts are. And so it's really important to, get to know what you're doing, get your numbers in order and figure it all out before you take the plunge.
Absolutely right. And there are steps that they can take. Sometimes families, they share the passwords and the information, and they both can get on these joint accounts, or even, if it's an individually held account, as long as they have permission. And so the key is to get that information and begin to prepare. Tax returns are helpful because then I can know what it is, what the income has been, and what property they may have that is listed in the tax return. Organization is key.
With everything, right? You need to know what your numbers are, no matter what, especially if
That's
you're contemplating divorce or, getting all your documents in order. It's important. So,
That's right.
how did you end up in the divorce arena and family law area? How'd you decide to go
It's
into
a
that
great
field?
question. When I was a young lawyer many, many years ago, I worked in a firm where they did a variety of types of civil litigation. And so I did everything from personal injury to there was medical malpractice, but there was also some family law cases. And I was assigned those cases because I am not really sure why, but maybe it was because my boss didn't want to do them. But I did them and I took a real liking to them. And I liked the thing I like the most about it is not only the personal interaction with people and the importance of how I can help them at this very important time in their lives. It was also interesting to me because all of the issues that result from a divorce were really interesting, and I had to learn about them. I didn't go to business school. I was a liberal arts major, and so I had to learn all about business valuations and budgeting and things like that. So that's how I got into it, and I decided because there was so much to learn and so much I had to tell my clients, I better focus on that. And that's what I did. Early in my career, I decided I would limit my practice to family and matrimonial law.
That's great. And how long have you been on your own?
So I've been on my own for 22 years. I think I just celebrated my anniversary of 22 years.
Congratulations.
And thank you so much. And I enjoy working on my own. It allowed me a lot of flexibility early on when my kids were younger. Now they're grown and out of the house. I have an assistant who works with me, a paralegal who works with me, and at times I have an associate that comes in and helps me to do paperwork that requires another hand. And I'm flexible with her because she's a parent of very young children. So she's not always available. But when I can get her, I'm so happy that I can use her to help me with the work that I have.
You know what? I think it's so great. Excuse me. I'm hearing you say that, that she's a mom of young children. And, most of my bookkeepers are moms with younger children. And I think it's so wonderful today that we have this whole hybrid model where it's so easy for mostly women, sometimes it's a man, as you said before, to stay home and yet still be able to further their careers. It really means a lot.
That's right. Because, it's one of the questions people ask me when they come in, should they get a job? Shouldn't they get a job? And really the bottom line is it's so important to keep current and have employment and be working if you can to fit the schedule of your schedule and the schedule of the family. So that's why I'm hoping that when my associate, as her kids get older and they become more independent, she'll be able to devote more time to my office. But I understand what it's like to be a working mom, so I'm really empathetic to, her needs.
Yeah, it's not easy. Definitely not easy. So let's take a little break here and then we'll come back with Nancy Kellman and we'll talk some more.
Hey there. I just want to tell you a little bit about my new book that just came out called Mastering Your Financial Life Cycles. And here it is. It's how to successfully manage your money in every decade of life. I co-authored this with my CFO, Liz Levy. And together we created this manual that's going to help you through every stage of life. We talk about having a baby. We talk about young adulthood, pre-retirement, what to do when you're at that age of retirement. If you're contemplating divorce, do you need an estate plan? We cover all of these, each subject in a different chapter. And I really think that you're going to find this so helpful because at the end of every chapter, we have checklists that you can look at and you can use, and they can be a guide for you. So this is a wonderful manual that we've created. It's available on Amazon. You can also find it on our website at judithheft.com/book. And we're here for you. If you need anything, reach out. I hope you enjoy the book. Here's another picture of it, just so you know what's going on. Here it is. And I'm really proud of it. It's my second book. And I'd love to have you read it and give me your feedback. Judy Heft, judithheft.com, financial and lifestyle concierge, celebrating 26 years in business. And over the years, I've learned so much. And what I've been trying to do is impart a little bit of this knowledge to you so I can help all of you become as financially organized as I am.
We're back here with Nancy. Excuse me, Nancy. Thank you for being here with me today. I'm glad that we got to come back. So, like, what happens? So they come to you for their initial consultation and you talk to them and you figure things out. And then they go back and they think about it. Maybe they need to think about it in their head, talk to their mother, their father, their sister, whatever. Is this really what I want? Because it's, that's a pretty big decision. And then what happens? And what are their options? How does that? So then they, 3-6 months later or next week, whatever, they come back to you and they say, you know what? I really appreciate that conversation we had. I'm ready to take the plunge. What next?
Right. So when in that initial consultation with them, I do describe the methods of resolving their divorce if they choose to get divorced. And there are a few options. One is a traditional negotiation where each party has a lawyer. The lawyers hopefully negotiate a settlement that results in a written agreement. Sometimes that doesn't work. Right? Sometimes people are at odds with each other, and that's what litigation is. It's going to court, getting involved in the legal process, and going that route. I try to, if the client is, if it's an appropriate case, to dissuade litigation because it is so difficult, it's emotionally taxing, and very expensive. And so there are other alternatives. There's an alternative called mediation, which I do, which is where I, as the individual mediator, will meet with both the husband and the wife to discuss with them all of the things that I talked about before, about their financial life, their custody issues, and try to help them come to a decision between themselves, guiding them with some legal principles. Sometimes these people have their own lawyers consulting with them. It can be a very rewarding experience for the clients because they really are masters of their own lives. They can make their own decisions. They're not relying on a judge to come down and make a decision about what should happen. That's also the most cost-effective way of resolving a divorce because it's one person, me or another mediator, and so you don't have two lawyers and it's taking time and going to court. And the last way is another way of resolving divorces, which is called collaborative law. And collaborative law has been around for about 20 years. It's a wonderful way to resolve a divorce similarly to mediation, but each party has their own lawyer who has been collaboratively trained, gone through a mediation training. And the parties, the essence of collaborative law is that the parties commit in a contract that they're not going to litigate, that they're going to stay at the table and they're going to work out their issues with their lawyer's help. It is not an adversarial process, but it's also not a panacea. It's not easy. It's not as if we, sit around singing Kumbaya. It can be stressful, but the lawyers are there to help, is to help the clients to come to the best resolution for them. And it does permit, however, if they can't figure it out and they feel they have to go to court, that they can litigate. It's just that the lawyers who have been signed on as their collaborative lawyers can't go to court with them. And the goal is to try to keep people at the table and talking and working it out.
And what happens if there's a pre or a post-nup involved, post-nuptial agreement? What happens with that? How does that factor in?
Right. A pre or post-nuptial agreement is not uncommon, particularly these days we see it. And it is it would be determinative in a court of law. So if we were in court, that agreement, provided it was a valid agreement, is going to be binding on the parties. When people mediate, or if they are in collaborative law, people can honor those prenuptial and postnuptial agreements, and they may choose not to, because people can always agree to do something different. Is that a common scenario? No, it's not a common scenario, but certainly it's an option for people, and it may give them more flexibility. I've actually done a collaborative case where there was a prenuptial agreement, which was pretty stringent and did not provide the mother, or the wife in that case, with a lot of funds, and there was significant wealth in the case. And fortunately, the husband wanted to do the right thing. And so we did not follow the strict terms of the prenup, and worked out well for my client and her kids. And I think it worked out very well for the dad as well.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know that could be done. I had no idea you could break those. I guess you can break any kind of agreement if you want to, right?
That's right. As long as it was the two of them coming to an agreement, they can also agree that they're not going to adhere to it. And yes, that can be done. Unlike a judge could not. A judge would have to follow what the prenup says, and it would go according to what the requirements and restrictions of that agreement say.
Very interesting information. That's good. I didn't know that. So how can our listeners contact you? Where can they find you, Nancy?
Yes, so my practice is located in White Plains, and that's our county seat where our courthouse is. My practice is limited primarily to Westchester County, while I have cases in New York City, and I have cases in the more northern suburbs to Westchester. I've been practicing here for 35 years, so I know the people and the court and the system. My telephone number is 914-328-0900. You can find me on my website, ndkellmanlaw.com, and that's for Nancy D. Kellman, ndkellmanlaw.com. And my email address is ndkellman@ndkellmanlaw.com.
Easy. And then I assume you must be on LinkedIn. They can find you there.
And I am on LinkedIn. And I'm also a fellow of a group of lawyers called the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. It's a national organization of about 1,500 matrimonial lawyers who focus their practice. And it's not an easy organization to get into. You have to take a couple of exams. Wow. But it is so worthwhile, and I learn a lot being among really smart lawyers, and that's one of the wonderful things about what I do is I'm learning every day.
That's great, and you've imparted so much of that wisdom onto us today, to our listeners, and to me. I learned a lot too today. So thank you so much. Thanks for joining us, Nancy, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Such a pleasure. Thanks, Judy.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Mastering Your Financial Life, hosted by Judy Heft. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing this show with others. You can read chapters of Judy's books and catch prior episodes of Mastering Your Financial Life at www.judithheft.com.